Hey everyone, I'm Clue, and I want to take this for a spin, the new online tutorial. Now I say new, mainly because I haven't used it, right? It's definitely a great step up from the previous stuff on this Learn to Play page. But basically I've been teaching my partner how to play, trying to get them to actually play. And I play a few games, and I said, why don't you just go do this, right? And surprisingly, the online tutorial left her with more questions than when we were playing together. Right? And that has me a little bit interested to see what's going on because, well, hopefully it's not too confusing. So we'll give it a go. We'll play through it and we'll pick it apart a little bit and see, how useful it is. I'm sure it's a wonderful starting point. We'll have to see.
Flesh and Blood is a hero-centric fantasy trading card game. Each player chooses a hero to play as. Each hero has a class that defines the cards they can play with and their fighting style. The object of the game is to reduce the opposing hero's life total to 0. This is your hero's intellect. You start the game with this many cards in your hand. Each hero has an ability that reflects their character and shapes how they fight. Equip your hero, prepare to fight. You start the game with your trusty weapon by your side. Edge of Autumn is a ninja weapon, meaning it can only be used by ninja heroes, such as Ira. 2H means it requires 2 hands to equip this weapon. If it was a one-handed weapon, you could have 2 of them equipped, 1 in each hand. This is a weapon's attack value. The cost to attack with a weapon and its abilities is here. Edge of Autumn is an action and costs 1 energy. This is an action card. You have to spend an action point to play an action card. You get 1 action point each turn to spend on action cards and action abilities, like Edge of Autumn. This is how much energy it costs to play this card. You get energy by pitching cards. We'll explain how to pitch cards soon. The number of energy symbols in the sockets is the amount of energy you will get if you pitch it. Red cards give you 1 energy, yellow give you 2, and blue give you 3. An action card's attack value is here, and its defense value is here. When you are being attacked, you can choose to defend with cards from your hand. It is free to defend. It does not cost energy or action points to defend with cards. Reaction cards are played during combat to surprise the attacking or defending hero. Now that we know what the different cards do, let's play a game. Okay, so good intro, right? Bit of an info dump, but nicely paced and, pause it and space for you to absorb. What I am a little bit concerned about, because... Equip your hero, prepare to fight. Your opponent is Rhinar, an alpha brute from the Savage Lands. Firstly, reveal your hero and weapon. These start the game in the arena. Now shuffle your deck, place it in the deck zone, and draw your cards equal to your hero's intellect. Randomly determine who will start the game. You win and will go first. To play cards, you must work within 2 constraints. 1. You can only play or activate 1 action per turn, unless that action has Go Again. 2. You must pay the energy cost. Let's start by attacking with Edge of Autumn. It costs 1 energy to attack with it, and you can see it has Go Again, which means you will get to continue with more actions after this attack resolves. The way you gain energy is by pitching cards, which means to move a card from your hand to your pitch zone. Remember, red cards give you 1 energy, yellows 2, and blues 3. It is generally best to pitch your blue cards to get the most energy possible to pay for your higher impact yellow and red cards. Do that now. Pitch the Brutal Assault in your hand. Okay, that is pretty erroneous, right? First off, UI looks good. Only thing I would say is action points, right? Should have probably been detailed somewhere, again, to make that really sink in, because while you had the good amount of info at the start, right? Action point for your turn, actions require action points, all that is fantastic, but it doesn't really sink in
because right now we're just told we had one, and then it's not reinforced anywhere here. If we saw the, action points or like teleshare or anything like that for our actions, and, roll over it, count, and then the explanation you've used up in action points, this says go again, so that, regenerates it, or it allows you to continue this chain going, and that would be, I think, a little bit better. Now this is obviously a problem, because in an actual game, right, you can't pitch before you do anything. So this whole preparation is probably a very bad habit to teach straight away, right? So, I mean, that's
now
cool.
You
The UI is great.
Energy. Attack with Edge of Autumn by moving it to the combat chain, which uses 1 of your energy.
But the prep is a little bit of an issue, right? Because again, it's just a rule habit. I'm glad we can look around. Well, but a bit underutilized, right? So if you could hover over cards, that'd obviously be a little bit better. And obviously if there was more information on the chain, but we'll do what they say. So we attack with Edge of Autumn, uses a resource, which is nicely indicated.
Edge of Autumn is now attacking the opposing hero. This is the first attack on the combat chain, which is known as Chain Link 1. Rhinar does not defend. Edge of Autumn hits, dealing 1 damage to Rhinar. Edge of Autumn has Go Again, which means you can continue your turn with another action. Now let's play Torrent of Tempo at Chain Link 2.
Okay, so that is a little bit too short, right? I understand, realistically in a game, you probably wouldn't block the one or the first attack, but forcing Rhino and the opposing player to block it, to then explain the interaction from your turn to your opponents, and then, the counterplay once it's our turn to defend, again, would be a little bit more instructive, right? Rather than we just attacked, it's gone through. We've mentioned defend, but we don't truly understand what it is as a new player. It already sort of feels like this, again, was designed from someone who knows the game, reciting it backwards, rather than building up the knowledge and, again, starting from a fresh perspective. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it means there will still be a little bit of disconnect, again, depending on the aptitude of the person using this. And I highly assume someone coming from, another card game wouldn't necessarily use this tutorial. They probably ask around, or they, test out for themselves, and given their ability to understand mechanics within a TCG, that's how they'd probably pick up the game, right? So for instance, my partner has no prior history with any card games, so again, it is learning from scratch, and I can understand now a little bit of her confusion and the stuff she pointed out after she played through this. Also in this case, right, we're told to play Torrent of Tempo, but why, right? What's the rationale? Why are we playing this over everything else? Obviously the justification is Torrent of Tempo zero cost? I can't even see because there's no hover. Obviously it has Go Again, so even that would be good enough, right? Just you're trying to play as big a chain as you can, obviously better wording than this, right? So since Torrent of Tempo has Go Again, this is the next card you should play rather than just play Torrent of Tempo.
Torrent of Tempo costs 1 energy.
And then this also is a little bit
Torrent of Tempo is your second attack this turn, Ira's hero ability gives it +1 power. Torrent of Tempo gets Go Again if it hits, which means if the opponent fully defends it, it won't get Go Again, and your turn will end. Rhinar defends with 2 cards. Now it's time for damage calculation. Torrent of Tempo has 6 power versus a total of 6 defense. Torrent of Tempo is fully blocked and does not hit, which means your turn will end. Firstly, let's clean up the combat chain. Weapons and equipment, if any, return to their respective zones, and all other cards are put into the graveyard. If your arsenal is empty and you have any cards left in your hand, you can put one of them face down into your arsenal. You can play this card from arsenal on a future turn. Let's do that now.
So, cause and response, right? We're being told to do stuff and then being explained why. And I do think that should be a little bit flipped in some circumstances. Obviously, with the defending that just happened, that I think was well done, right? There's not really much more you could emphasize or explain there. But yeah, so like even this, why are we picking flank kick? Right? It could be a simple explanation as red are more impactful than yellow or blue, right? Just sort of trying to explain some of the nuances to the game a little bit better than just do this. Because again, how does this help you going into another game, right? You're not going to have this exact hand. You're not being taught or learning in any shape or form why or what's the rationale between this card versus Salt the Wound, right? In fact, from an onlooker's perspective, they would probably see Salt the Wound as 0 and go, well, isn't that the card I want to save to play? Because I can play it easily, whereas this has a big, hefty 2 cost. So maybe I won't be able to play it, right?
Note, you can't pitch or defend from Arsenal. You can only play cards from Arsenal, which includes playing defense reaction cards. Next, put all cards from your pitch zone on the bottom of your deck. Then draw up to your hero's intellect. At the end of the first turn of the game, all players draw cards back up to their hero's intellect. For the rest of the game, each player will only draw up to their intellect at the end of their own turn. It's now Reinar's turn. Reinar pitches a blue card to gain 3 energy. He uses all 3 energy to attack you with Smash Instinct. Now it's time to decide how to defend. Remember, it's free to defend, but you need to think ahead, because whatever cards you have left after defending is all that you have to work with during your next turn. With this hand, the correct choice is to defend with Salt the Wound.
Why? Right? Again, it's probably going to tell us after we do it, but we're just taking these blind leaps of faith and not really being taught anything in response. Now, in terms of the phases of the game, right, and those interactions, I think it's doing a wonderful job explaining them, right, with the right amount of detail, not too much, but enough for you to understand what's going on, right? The way you fix everything up, you pack stuff away, drawing, pitching the arsenal, that's all good. But again, what do I learn from this going forward? If I were to then print off Ira and try and play a game myself, my hand's going to be completely different. I'm not going to have really any understanding of these choices that I'm making, and that is somewhat of an issue. So we'll block with Salt the Wound. Even from a numerical value, why are we only doing 3? Right? It's told us to think ahead, but again,
now it's
this
time
defense
for
reaction, I think
I
shouldn't talk over.
Smash Instinct has 7.
I can pause. Okay, that's perfect. No, but apparently I can't go down. That's weird. But yeah, so it mentioned the defense reaction about the arsenal, all that. I think that would have been a better time, right, to go into that mechanic. Again, follow the train of thought rather than mention it. And obviously this next turn going on is probably when we'll stash the defense reaction.
Versus your total defense of 3. You are dealt 4 damage. Smash Instinct does not have go again, so Reinar's turn ends. He puts one of the remaining cards from his hand into his arsenal. The cards from his pitch zone on the bottom of his deck.
So even like that, right? Again, if there was, an action point indicator for them to just say, because Smash Instinct didn't have go again, Reinar has spent his only action point, and therefore his turn ends, right? Just a little bit more succinct information.
And he draws up to his intellect. Now it's your turn, and time for vengeance. Start by pitching Head Jab to gain 3 energy.
Again, bad habit to teach.
Attack with Edge of Autumn at Chain Link 1, using 1 energy.
Right, and just the second step, we were shown it how it activates Ira, but that connection again wasn't really made.
Reinar does not defend and is dealt 1 damage. Now attack with Scar for a Scar at Chain Link 2. Note that Scar for a Scar's energy cost is 0, so it doesn't consume any of your available energy. It also has an effect that gives it go again if you have less life than your opponent, which you do. Scar for a Scar is your second attack this turn, which means Ira's ability gives it +1 power. Reinar defends.
Yeah, so that explanation was nice, right? Again, about the +1, the additive, the things you wouldn't really think of as a normal player, because from my perspective, from what I've seen, again, with my partner, right, their eye line goes straight to their hand, right? They think of it like a card game. I said it was sort of like Spit, right, where you're trying to create this chain and put down as many cards as you can. Or actually, I don't know if Spit's called Spit in the US. Anyway, Speed. I think it might be called Speed. Regardless, right? So the connections with the board state and everything like that is great, but I do think it's not really instructing us anything to do with our cards. We're just following along, and it's not really sinking in. And then, yeah, the pitch habit is definitely
for 3
not good.
And takes 2 damage. Now it's time to feel the power of Flying Kick. Play Flying Kick from your arsenal using your remaining 2 energy. Because Flying Kick is played at chain link 3, it gets +2.
I think my pausing that has sort of messed up the narration. I'm guessing it was meant to explain the ability, right? And then that would sort of tell you why you were saving it, right? And why you then wanted to do Edge of Autumn, Scar for a Scar, because you wanted to get to that chain link 3.
Power.
Has it explained the chain properly? I don't know if it has. Right? And especially the nuance where, you know, if you do something else, not that we have any actions or anything. Interesting.
Defends for 3 and takes 4 damage. Flying Kick does not have go again, so your turn ends.
I kind of feel Dorinthia is maybe a little bit better than Ira. Right? Ira is very straightforward, so she's definitely the new player deck. But in explaining mechanics and interactions, I think Dorinthia would be a little bit better, right? Because then you can explain properly equipment, weapon, you know, give her something for her weapon. You can explain the caveats between normal actions, attack actions, and then also, you know, reactions and, well, defense reactions. I might look into that. Just grab a couple cards and see what we can come up with. Again, because they can control the entire flow of this tutorial. So it's definitely easy enough to shape it better.
Clean up the combat chain, return your weapon to its zone, and put the rest of the cards into the graveyard. You have an empty arsenal, so let's put Springboard Somersault into arsenal.
Right, and just here, Springboard Salt is a defense reaction, so you'll be able to play it in against your opponent's upcoming turn. Something like that. So just do this.
The cards in your pitch zone go on the bottom of your deck, and you draw up to your hero's intellect. Rhinar pitches a yellow card, gaining 2 energy, and attacks with Pack Hunt. Defend with Brutal Assault and Salt the Wound. After defending cards have been chosen, attack reactions and defense reaction can be played. Reactions are not action cards and therefore do not require an action point. Rhinar pitches a blue card, gaining 3 energy. He spends 2 energy.
So even like now, right? Because obviously the reason it's saying that is we don't have any action points because it's not our turn. So just some sort of indicator with action points to, again, connect that dot, let it sink in.
Energy to play Pummel, giving Pack Hunt +4 power, and an extra effect that if Pack Hunt hits, you will have to discard a card. Because we are in the reaction step, the only thing you can do is play a defense reaction. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Springboard Somersault is ready to pounce from your arsenal. Its energy cost is 0, so you can simply play it for free, leaping out of harm's way.
I think it's because I moved it. So if Springboard Somersault is played from the arsenal, it gains +2.
When Springboard Somersault is played from arsenal, it gets a +2 defense buff, adding a total of 4 additional defense to this chain link, dodging the nasty impact of Pummel. Congratulations, young hero. You now know everything you need to know to begin your adventure into the world of Wraith. Visit Fabtcg.com.
Okay, so the biggest thing with my partner was this did a much better job than what I could do, explaining the phases and, you know, some of the onboard interactions, but didn't help her whatsoever with understanding cards, pitching, or, you know, rationale for playing. And even the action point stuff was lost on her. So it does a decent job, but I would say it's still lacking a certain few caveats. Where does it take you straight away? It takes you to the store locator. That's interesting. I mean, you obviously come from the welcome page, right? And then the idea is to go find a store near you. Quick start rules, ways to play. Let's take a quick look at this, right? So quick starts. I mean, to be honest, the interaction should have just simply been this, right? In interactive form. Managing resource points wisely, right? With these little notes, they can just pop up. You don't even have to voice them. Yeah. Anyway, still, oh, there you go, advanced game concepts. Yeah. And this is a much better breakdown of the phases as well. Yeah, it's not bad, right? It's definitely a step up from what was previous. But yeah, I still would say it leaves some information lacking, and the pitching is definitely a very bad habit to cultivate. Yeah, so I even wanted to just double check because of how much it is emphasized in that tutorial, but a card cannot be pitched this way if there is no resource cost to pay, or if the player has resource points equal to or greater than the resource cost to be paid. So that is definitely by far the worst aspect, right? Because it's front and center. It's just telling you to start your turn by generating resources, right? Which is definitely not the correct habit. Oh well, that'll do. What do you think? Is it worth its salt, or would you just rather try and explain it to someone, right? So yeah.